At the end of 2024, Wahoo released this, the brand new Element Ace head unit. Now they have just updated the much-loved Element Roam and little brother Element Bolt devices too. So in this video, I'm going to run you through quickly what each device does and what the differences are between them. In a nutshell though, the Bolt is the OG. It's the smallest, lightest, most aero unit designed for speedsters. It's also a little bit more pared back in the feature department, so its price is slightly lower too. The Roam is the middle ground. Bigger screen, bigger battery, and new for this generation, a digital bike belt, audible sat-nav commands,
right turn ahead,
and a touch screen. And then the Ace is the big one. Literally, huge screen for the clearest possible navigation, the biggest battery, and a unique feature, a wind sensor. For those that are less familiar with cycling computers or head units, they can display all sorts of interesting and useful data about your ride. Now, all of these are fitted with GPS, meaning that they can show and record your speed and distance, plus they have maps built in to allow you to use the device as a sat-nav, as well as displaying information on what's coming up on the road ahead, particularly Wahoo's summit segments, which tell you how long and how steep your next climb is going to be. So those are the headlines. Let's dive into a few more details. The easiest place to start being the size. You can clearly see that the Ace is the biggest, the Roam is in the middle, and then the Bolt is the smallest. Exact screen dimensions are as follows: 3.8 inches, 2.8 inches, and 2.3 inches. If having the largest screen for the ultimate in mapping or displaying a gazillion data fields is your priority, then clearly the larger Ace is going to be the one for you. Now personally, I find the smaller screen on the Bolt more than adequate for following routes on a map, but it's obviously not going to be quite as straightforward as on the Roam, which in itself is not going to be quite as clear as on the larger Ace. Perhaps more importantly though, the lack of a touch screen on the Bolt means that if you need to use the map to search around near where you are for alternative routes or whatnot, you'll be getting your phone out of your pocket because you can't scroll around on the map screen like you can on the Ace, and now the Roam too, which for some, this touchscreen is probably going to be the biggest update over the previous generation. All devices come with global maps and this rich 16 million color palette. Plus the maps themselves have additional details like street names, and then you can add in extra layers as well, such as points of interest, coffee shops, for example, or Strava segments. Because of the larger screen size and therefore device size, there is also a larger battery inside the Ace. Now, of course, it needs to power a bigger screen, but even so, Wahoo say this one has the longest battery life. They're quoting it as 30 hours, although exact runtime will of course depend on how much you're using it, what functions you're using, and how bright the screen is. They quote 25 hours meanwhile for the Roam and 20 hours for the Bolt, both of which are significant increases over the previous generation. What does that do to the weight? Well, that's a bit nerdy, isn't it? Who really cares? Me. Bolt, 86. Roam, 110. Ace, 208. Now, if you are not familiar with Wahoo devices, one of the USPs has always been the amazing partner app on your phone that makes living with a device that much simpler. Everything from uploading routes to setting up the display how you want it. Now, for those of you that are familiar with Wahoo, that still exists, but instead of using the Element app, there is a new one. So all of these new devices use a new mega app, the Wahoo app. Now, what this does is it makes life easier for those people who use more of the Wahoo ecosystem, which is jargon for saying other Wahoo products like the Kicker indoor trainer or the system training app. Now, one cool update that I particularly like is the ability to swap between different device setups. So they're calling it workout profiles. And basically what it means is that if you, for example, train and also race with your bike, then at the click of a button, you can easily swap between a device that's been tailored to display all of the training information that you need to one that's been pared down and honed for racing. Or for those of you who might be lucky enough to have more than one bike, as you can see here, you can quickly swap between one tailored for road cycling and one tailored to gravel. There is a very definite feel to Wahoo devices. They share the same design language, if you will. So they all have these 3 buttons along the bottom. They all have a zoom in and out function on the side, either to increase or decrease the number of data fields that you're seeing, or to zoom in or out of maps. And then they have, of course, an on-off button as well. With the touchscreen devices, the Roam and the Ace, you have additional functionality where you can swipe between screens and also swipe down to get to the setup menu. One other point to note is that the previous generations of the Roam and the Bolt had little LEDs up the side. Now they have gone, but that functionality has simply moved on screen. For Wahoo aficionados, the startup process has changed ever so slightly. Still one button for getting going, but if you want to change those workout profiles that we were talking about a moment ago, remember, training or racing, road bike or gravel bike, you can do so on the startup screen, as well as choosing workouts and routes too. The way you pair up with other devices has also subtly changed as well. And remember, we're not just talking about pairing up to heart rate monitors or power meters, but also other things like radars, of which Wahoo now have one, plus smart lights and GoPros. You can pair up with music apps, as well as pairing up to Di2 or SRAM Axis. They can control your Wahoo, as well as your Wahoo displaying your gear information too. We can see here where I've got the previous generation Bolt and the new one, that the new one is ever so slightly longer than the old one, but otherwise the dimensions are very, very similar. It does, of course, have that improved screen and richer mapping, but otherwise it is really nice and pared down, just like the old one, and I love it for that. The Roam, which again isn't any larger particularly, has that touch screen, but what about the audio that we mentioned briefly up front? Well, the bike bell, this is cool actually, can be activated with a double tap on the screen and sounds like that. Which, to be fair, when I read about it, I thought it sounded like wouldn't be something I would use, given that I don't like bike bells. But actually, that's not bad, is it? That really is good. I mean, I shouldn't be surprised that it sounds like a bike bell, but I am. And then also, as mentioned, there are those audible commands when you're using the device for navigation. They sound like this.
Slight left. Right turn ahead. Left turn ahead.
I think most of the time I would have that muted, but I can definitely imagine certain situations, perhaps following a route where there are loads of different turnings off left and right, and maybe I don't want to tear my eyes away from the road to look at the screen, that actually it would be invaluable in stopping you going wrong. I do think though that we should petition Wahoo to allow a function where the directions could be read out by Ollie Bridgewood. Yeah.
Turn right. Next left. Make a U-turn.
Maybe if you give this video a like, if we get enough of them, then we could take it to Wahoo and say there is consumer demand.
Reminder to wax your chain. You are approaching a climb. You will probably be dropped. Make a U-turn. Adopt a turtle's head position here.
Can't guarantee that Ollie would send you in the right direction, mind you, but not with his track record.
Ollie nearly just died when he crashed into a traffic cone. Bloody hell, yeah.
Make a U-turn.
And what of the big and then the Ace? For those who want the look and feel of a smartphone, only with much longer battery life and a touchscreen designed for all weathers. Now, it's easy to see why that larger screen would improve navigation even more, but what of that wind sensor? Well, it's a really interesting one. It's only on the Ace, remember. You see that little port there? So that takes in the wind information. Now, given that the device already knows your ground speed, it can then work out additional insights, such as how much headwind or tailwind you're currently experiencing, plus give you dynamics if you're riding in a group, for example, so how much shelter you might be getting. It's also possible to see that if you've got a power meter, sometime in the future, it could somehow harness that power data and your speed data and the wind speed data to give you some additional insights. Now, that is not something that Wahoo have said, meanwhile, but just thinking. So there we go, the 3 head units in the Wahoo range. Very quickly what they do and also what separates them. I'd be super interested to know which one would be for you. Are you a bolt kind of a rider, a roam kind of a rider, or are you an ace? Personally, no, this kind of defeats the point. But I'm a bolt and a roam kind of person. Yeah. And remember as well, hit that like button, particularly if at some point you would like Ollie Bridgewood to read out your sat-nav directions. I mean, I think we all want that, don't we? Anyway, see you on the next one.